So guys, welcome back to the channel. Sorry it's been a while, had stuff on, uni exams and whatnot. Trying out a little bit of a new setup at the moment, so I think there's been a little bit of like echo on my microphone. Hopefully none of that comes through. But I'm here playing the beginner's guide. So these are the guides that made the Stanley Parable, which is a really good game. Highly recommend checking it out if you haven't. But jumping into this, looks like the chapters, so see how long it takes, see how many we get through. Yeah, here we go.
Hi there. Thank you very much for playing the Beginner's Guide. My name is Davey Reedon. I wrote the Stanley Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011. We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda. Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So, it's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, you know, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveywreden@gmail.com. Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game. As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
So, there seems to be like a little bit of like a narrative sort of thing. Like I'm probably not going to try to speak too much over it when he's speaking, and I'll just play through the games. So yeah, the first thing, as you saw, was like a Counter-Strike map. It's kind of cool, very small, but yeah. And this is 2008. Oh, let's get
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
So, I'm just running. Not sure what I'm running from.
Security call breached. Hostile alien life form inbound.
Sounds like a bit of a horror.
It kinda looks like this game was abandoned mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets. But ultimately we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Enemy force neutralized. Begin shield evacuation.
I love how you can see the bottom of the universe from this room.
It's kind of cool how he walks you through stuff. I do have no bullets, but when I'm forced to go this way, this is... Well, I'm 100% expecting jump scares here.
Apparently this space station has a labyrinth on it. Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it. Okay, this is the part that's interesting. The game has this narrative about the whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Hey, you there, in the engine room. You could save us all. That beam is powering a whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam. It's so much to ask, but for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
Basically, I can kill myself to save everyone. Okay.
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead.
Okay. So I'm not fully sure if I'm meant to do, like, just kind of play through these or not. I don't know if this is like... I don't know if this is like actually like playing through the game, or if a bit like Stanley Parable, I was able to just kind of do my own thing and figure out what happened. But okay, that's pretty fun.
The beam causes you to start floating. And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but Coda identifies something human about it, like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
So you can actually see there's a way through the maze. But yeah, so this one, the path was behind her. Okay.
So try walking backwards. Yep, in this game you can only walk backwards.
Okay. Assume I can die by falling off that?
So it's a short and relatively minimalist experiment combining motion and narrative. It is less advanced than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete. Coda's trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope. It's a short little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that.
That's kind of cool.
Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
sorry I keep looking that way, by the way. That's actually where my second monitor is, so I'm just kind of making sure things are working. It's also, like, I can see myself. So that game was kind of cool. You could only walk backwards. I feel like I've played a game similar to that before. This game feels like it could be like a jumpy, scary sort of thing.
And that's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games, and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting.
Okay, that was weird. So I could only move forward in that.
Oftentimes, Coda would put bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games.
Yeah, so previously I could only...
I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games. He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, like, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do?
Okay, so this game, I just seem to be on like a platform.
I know it's tempting, but there's actually nothing over here. Sorry.
So it's cool how the voice actually responds to what I'm doing. So I've just walked off in a random direction here. And similar to the Stanley Parable, the narrator seems to respond to you. Which is cool. I'll actually go up the stairs on this, so it is. I generally am just going to try and run through these, but I'll explore a little bit and see how we go. We about 12 minutes in so far, so I might try and keep this at about 20 odd minutes, but we'll try to jump through a few more games. So I started going like really slow.
Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
Okay, so I pressed enter. I was back to full speed.
A room that's warm and nice and filled with little ideas for games. Coda would often tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that. It can be a very slow climb to get there.
Fair enough. It's, that game would have been rough to get there normally. So that was kind of cool. I feel like that one was... I don't really know. I don't really understand anything that's happening with these. The new one... Like, I keep expecting jump scares, which I think was a similar thing I thought about the Stanley Parable. It felt like a game that was going to try and jump scare you. But from memory, the Stanley Parable never did.
Well, this is new for Coda. It's an actual puzzle. Go ahead and see if you can solve it. Don't forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon. We're going to see it a lot.
So I play a fair bit of puzzle games.
So that seems to be it, right?
That wasn't...
You walk down a corridor, you solve a puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough. Alright, now I'm going to modify the game again so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room. How about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the Stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the Stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior, and then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world. Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the time you don't get to know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
So back here, we can only walk this way. You are now exiting.
Aha! So this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the Stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
So I'm not sure in that one, if it's a timer or it's something. If we go back onto it again, I'm just going to keep walking. Okay, so this one...
Let's talk about video game development for a second.
Nothing
Every
else.
video game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development. To make all of these games, Coda is using an engine called Source. Like all engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly. One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well.
This is called the Streetwise Fool.
The tools available to the creator shape what kinds of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider paying attention to the architecture in Coda's games, to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors.
So I kind of did that on purpose. I'm not sure if that's actually how you're meant to get through this game, but I'm kind of just dropping. Yeah, I think it was. So I was testing a few things there. I was testing to see if I could drop, seeing as like in the Dark Path game, you couldn't move out of the strict bounds. And also to kind of see if this was leading into the other rooms in like the puzzle game, because I thought they looked similar. I'll try and get better at just telling you guys why I'm doing stuff as I go, but obviously I'm relatively new to making games, so I'm kind of relatively new to making videos, so I will just kind of pay attention, because I'm not so used to talking when I play games. Let's close behind me. Okay, so this is fully directing me where I go. Okay. It's like a prison? So I have to go into
This prison, funny enough, in Coda's original design, the doors stayed shut for a full hour before letting you go. If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that. This is something that he and I used to argue about a lot. You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable, whether it means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games that was full of hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in and nothing else. Believe me, I played every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere. There wasn't.
That's pretty funny. So, after I play this, like, finish it, I reckon I'll look up, like, these people, see if they're actually real. I could just find out as I'm playing it, but that's kind of cool if this is, like, a thing. These three dots are, like, I've seen a lot of them so far. Not sure if you guys have noticed them as I've been going through, but I think I've popped up about 4 or 5 times so far. That could just be like a signature, could be, but it could be
It's the
something
puzzle
else.
again, with the exact same solution as the last time. There's still no clear indication of what makes this puzzle so special that Coda is going to return to it over and over. But I promise I'll share with you my interpretation very shortly.
I don't even know what this reminds me of, but it's got a very nostalgic feel to it, this game in general. But it's pretty cool.
Here, Coda begins using a kind of dialogue system that he fashioned out of the engine's chat capabilities. Use the 1, 2, 3 buttons on your keyboard to respond.
Yeah, you come from up above. What was up there? Stimulate 1. Tell them how it was going. That was pretty odd. I don't have a lot of bases on why I'm picking what I'm picking, but so yeah, apparently that puzzle is relevant, as the narrator's been saying.
And so we make one last descent down to the final floor of the level. It's a lamppost. Okay, I can't tell you quite why, but for some reason, Coda fixates on this lamppost. It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out. I'll tell you what I think. I think that up to this point, he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe you can only float around in that headspace for so long. Because now he wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work to be leading to something. He wants a destination, which is what this lamppost is. It's a destination. We're going to see it in the work as well. His games are just going to become a lot more cohesive, a lot more fully developed, with more of a clear idea behind them. And as we go, that idea will get clearer and clearer and clearer.
So that was a bit more of like a complete game, but that was pretty cool. That, like, I don't really get what it was. Not sure what. This one could be interesting. I assume this is something to...
So first off, I'm sure you can deduce this, but this game is not connected to the internet. All of the notes that you're going to see have been written by Coda. This was actually the first game of his that I ever played. This was shortly after I met him at a weekend game jam in Sacramento, where I grew up. I saw him working on this very level, and it was just so different from anything that anyone else was doing. So right away I was like, I have to be friends with this person. In retrospect, I think I was probably a bit too pushy, trying to get his attention. I was over-enthusiastic. But he was very gracious about it and very patient with me. And I cooled off eventually. Oh, feel free to skip over any of these notes if they're not doing anything for you. Nothing extra is going to happen if you read all of them. Either way, to me they convey a sense of loneliness. I see this person who's filled with thoughts and feelings and beliefs and has no way to express them except as scattered and unheard voices in a game that wasn't meant to be played.
There are so many of these.
But it's ironic, isn't it, that in playing this game and seeing how alone Coda often felt, that we get to know him better and actually kind of connect with him. And I have to be honest with you, this idea is really seductive to me, that I could just play someone's game and see the voices in their head and get to know them better and have to do less of the messy in-person socializing. I could just get to know you through your work. I think this is why I always liked Coda's games so much, is because it felt like they let me have that connection. I felt as though he was inviting me personally into his world. And then I feel less lonely too.
I'm tempted just to jump off here. Okay, I can't jump off there. I was gonna jump off there to see if I could read things like that. But no, I think I just have to go through this part. I might end up over there, but... So yeah, the design and stuff of all of this are like getting better. So, which makes you kind of believe that it was actually like made the time periods it was. Like, it's 2016 now, and as I'm going to assume everyone that watched this video is also watching in 2016. But this game, this game's 7 years old, and computer games back then probably looked pretty similar to this. Like, obviously there was a lot of like actually like good ones, but like any sort of ones that were like made by people, as in like indie developers, were very similar to this. Like, it's not like this is terrible like look-wise or anything, but it's a big improvement from the early ones. There's actually like all this design on the walls and stuff that realistically isn't needed. I half expect this to be the same puzzle as what's been coming up. I think I might stop reading these. There's so many of them. There's a nice little bit of artwork there, a bit of abstracty sort of art. I'm just kind of clicking the button, like hitting the buttons as I go through because they make cool noises. But there's really nothing to this. Yeah, overall, like I'm not really sure what to make of this game so far. It hasn't really, like, nothing's really happened, but it's like oddly, like, interesting and like kind of pulled me in a fair bit at the same time. I really like this sort of games, and I can understand how it's not for everyone. But I think this is really cool. Yeah, so I've been going for half an hour so far. I'm probably just going to keep playing it. I'll either upload this as like one big video or a few smaller ones. I'll probably tweet out, just see what people are interested in. My Twitter, I'll put up on the screen like now, so it should just be across the middle of the screen. I'll put my Twitter up so you can see it if you're not following me. So please give me a follow if you're not following me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I tweet out whenever I release a video. If I release anything more real lifey, like Let's Just Come to Gameplay, I'll put it on Facebook as well, which I'll show you on the screen now. But yeah, feel free to just follow me on things. It's also a really easy way to keep in touch if you want any games for me to play, if you want to see videos on any sort of thing, type me a message. I'm going to try and release a lot more videos now, and you're probably going to see a lot of like staple video games.
At the end of this level, we're going to see the puzzle again. And here, I'll tell you what I think the puzzle means. Each of these games represents an idea that was on Coda's mind at the time that he was making it. And the puzzle is a way of closing the door on a previous chapter of his life before moving on to the next one.
So yeah, the background noise at the moment, but yeah, I was saying, feel free to follow them things. And I'm going to have like staple games that I'm going to be playing regularly, that probably most of my videos will be on. So I'll probably like...
In each of his games, after exploring a theme that, he might find difficult, Coda can then place this puzzle that he knows has a reliable solution, he understands exactly how it works, and so it gives him a simple mechanism for moving on.
Yeah, so as I was saying, I'm going to try and release roughly 2 videos a week. One will probably just be on like a save game, like Rocket League, maybe League of Legends. I don't really play that too much anymore. Overwatch, H1Z1, depending on if I can get people to play with me. But then I'll try and release another video, which will either be me doing real life challenges sort of thing, which I find really fun to do, but once again, I generally need someone to film me for it, or it'll just be me playing a random game. So if you want me to do a random challenge, let me know. If you want me to play a certain game, let me know. Happy to play anything. But as we're coming to the end of this part,
And because there's this dark area between the doors, a space between spaces, before you move on, you get to pause. Just for a moment, a few seconds to reflect on and let go of the events that led you here. To step back and connect the pieces together. To grasp at that elusive bigger picture.
typewriter sound in here. Pretty loud. And the lamppost again.
hey, this one is tough. It's gonna kind of just spin its own wheels for a few minutes. Hang with it.
Looks like, actually, that one, actually they all kind of look like babies, like a dummy. Not sure why I saw that, but that it looks like to me. These painting things are really cool, but apparently, yeah, this is a bit of an odd game. Which, in fairness, they all have been pretty odd. Yeah, so I'm going to assume I'm out in that.
See, like, this is it. The whole game. And there's nothing that's particularly interesting about it. You just walk to the end of a hallway. Except, for some reason, Coda gets really fixated on this prison that has all of this modern furniture. And I don't know why, but he decides he needs to revisit this prison. He's gonna start over, use the same assets, turn it into something else. Okay, cool. Here's version 2.
Okay. So, I'm kind of just saying random things. I'm going to assume it's just going to put this in regardless. So, I'm just saying random answers pretty much, and it's just like putting the same stuff in regardless of it. So, I'm a fan of questioning people with what they are, whenever I can. Okay, where are we?
There's a bit more to this one, but still, it's not really communicating anything. It's kind of just weird for weirdness' sake.
Seems to be like a maze.
So, okay, he throws it out and starts over. This time he comes at the prison idea from a different direction.
There's that symbol again. Just, I have no reason not to follow this. Okay, so I think I need to remember to do that. So click the table, click that, off, on, move, click. Okay. So I need to do that to get out, I think. So this is a bit like a memory game?
And of course, now the table is gone and you can't begin the chain of events to escape. Here's a version where there are no bars, but you can't actually get to the well. And then a version where the inside of the prison is the outside and the outside is the inside. Let me just blink you real quick through a few more of these. I mean, he really unloaded on this prison idea. There's nearly a dozen of them. Personally, I think it's awful to watch this, to see a person basically unraveling through their work. And for what? Like, at what point do you just go, maybe there are game ideas other than this prison that I could be working on? But Coda doesn't have that voice telling you to stop, that particular mechanism of defense against yourself. Without it, you just spiral. And so he keeps going and going and going and going and going, and then he hits on something. And he likes it. And that's it. He's done. He stops making prisons. This is the very last version of the prison game that he created. And the reason I think it works is that the prison is not actually in it.
So, kind of like nighttime, and the yard, and it looks like I'm more or less just walking to the lamppost. And as the guy said, the lamppost is the end of the levels. Let's take a phone call. This is like creepy.
It's a conversation. And so this is what Coda wants, is to be able to talk to someone, to share what's on his mind, and to get some good advice from someone who knows. But the irony is that even in this scenario, you're still talking to yourself. You know, all of these games so far are Coda talking to himself.
Pretty weird. It's like the background noise is what makes it like creepy. It's like night time stuff. I keep seeing some just like can't, and like camera angles weird as well. This is kind of crazy. I feel like if I get him out, he's going to come and kill me. I'm kind of being literally... I don't really know. There's no real basis for my answer at the moment.
I can see why he considers this a fitting conclusion to the prison games. After all of the obsession and frustration, just to be told by someone you can trust that things are going to be okay.
Fair enough.
Wouldn't that be nice? So what would it look like if Coda wanted to make a game about talking to someone other than himself?
Okay, so I've been through quite a few, about 45 minutes so far. I think I'm going to call it there. Episode will get too long. The episodes will get too long, and I don't want to be releasing like 3 hours ago. Like it's not a stream. Like a 45 odd minute episode is long enough. So I'm going to call it there. If you guys like it, let me know. I'll probably post another one regardless, but this is the beginner's guide so far. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more. Yeah, and feel free to subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the content, and I'll try and release, as I said, 2 videos a day, more or less for the next couple of months. 2 videos a day. Wow, no, 2 videos a week for the next couple of months. No promises there though. I might do more, might do less, but that's kind of a rough goal for myself. Anyhow, thanks for watching, guys. See ya. Bye.